In what should be considered as just an incredible win for humanity as a whole, the Federal Court of Appeals has quashed the government's approvals to build the Trans Mountain Expansion Project, handing a major victory to indigenous groups and environmentalists opposed to the $7.4 billion project. And CBC News followed it up by saying, in effect, the court has halted construction of the project indefinitely. And if the government wants to move forward with the construction, they would need to proceed with a whole new review of the project. So this is just fantastic news. And there's multiple layers to this. So first, I should maybe detail what the Trans Mountain expansion is if you don't know. So this is what the Trans Mountain pipeline would look like if it was built, running from the tar sands of Alberta to the coast of British Columbia. And this from National Observer. If built, the Trans Mountain expansion would triple the capacity of an existing pipeline system, allowing it to ship up to 890,000 barrels of bitumen and other petroleum products from Alberta's oil patch to a Burnaby terminal in Metro Vancouver. The federal and Alberta governments, along with oil companies, say it would generate growth by giving oil sands producers access to new markets on the Pacific Ocean. Dozens of affected indigenous communities, environmentalists, and some municipalities along the route have argued that the project is too risky and would push Canada's climate change goals out of reach. Now, the reason the court ruled against the Trudeau government is because they discovered that the government had not considered all the evidence in front of them, and they also failed to properly consult First Nations people. So, more on that. Indeed, a review of the record of the consultation process discloses that Canada displayed a close-mindedness when concerns were expressed about the board's report and was reluctant to depart from the findings and recommendations of the board, said the ruling, drafted by Justice Eleanor Dawson. With rare exceptions, Canada did not dialogue meaningfully with the Indigenous applicants about their concerns about the board's review. Instead, Canada's representatives were focused on transmitting concerns of the Indigenous applicants to the decision makers and nothing more. Canada was obliged to do more than passively hear and receive the real concerns of the Indigenous applicants. So, essentially, the Canadian government did consult First Nations, but they didn't do anything about their concerns. Just as a way for the government to say, yeah, we consulted First Nations, but if you didn't actually take their concerns and make real changes, then the consultation process means nothing. And according to the court, the Trudeau government gave First Nations only a few weeks to review a large report that summarized all of the ways or all of the efforts it was supposedly taking to accommodate them. And the court ruled that that was an unreasonable consultation process. So all around, this is terrible news for the Trudeau government. And another aspect of the ruling was that they discovered that the government did not consider the increase in tanker traffic off the coast of BC that the pipeline would cause. So a number of issues here. And there's another aspect to this that makes it look even worse for the Trudeau government. And that's the fact that they bought this pipeline for $4.5 billion. So I did a report on that a few months ago when it was still in the beginning stages. But guess when the sale of this pipeline was finalized? About 30 minutes after this ruling. So check this out. Not surprisingly, Kinder Morgan shareholders have just voted to approve the sale of the pipeline project to the federal government. And that approval happened 30 minutes to an hour after the court ruled against the construction of that pipeline. Kinder Morgan just got out with $4.5 billion from the Canadian people. And the Trudeau government let that happen. Now, don't get me wrong. The Conservative government would have done the exact same thing, if not much worse than our current situation. But that doesn't mean you can't criticize what this Trudeau government has done on this issue. They are terrible on the environment. So we live in a system here where we can elect a third party. There is another option. Now, look, I ran as a Green Party candidate in 2015, but I don't consider myself attached to any party. I'm somebody that promotes progressive policy, promotes policy that I think will benefit the vast majority of people in the country. And right now, the only two parties I see promoting those sorts of policies are the NDP and the Greens. So, yeah. And It's also worth mentioning here that there were journalists out there that called this out, that saw this coming. So Ethan Cox from Ricochet reported this in April. Kinder Morgan is playing Canada. This is a shakedown, and the Trudeau government is falling for it. And he has just been proven exactly right. So if I have one talent, I feel like I'm not that smart of a guy. I really don't. I just have, if I have one talent, it's my ability to recognize people that know what they're talking about. So I just listen to people that I think are informed. And I happen to be right a lot of the time, whether it's Ethan Cox or Tom Parkin, who's a writer for the Toronto Sun, who also reported on this. There are people out there who have a great track record, are consistently right on these issues. All you have to do is listen to them, and you'll be a lot more wiser than you once were. So, yeah, this is just a complete shit show. And really, it remains to be seen where the government goes from here. I think they're going to challenge the ruling, but whether they'll be successful or not remains to be seen. But for now, what has happened is that the Liberal government owns a lemon of an oil pipeline. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button below and consider becoming a patron at therationalnational.com/join. You get some extra content, but also, most importantly, you help support me in continuing to produce these sorts of videos.